6 months into her new life, Amara had a walk-in closet, bigger than the entire room she used to sleep in. She had staff who called her Ma and meant it. She had a seat on her father's board. She had everything except peace. When you have spent your whole life being invisible and suddenly everyone can see you, it takes time to learn the difference between being seen and being targeted. 3 months later, Barrister Adeyemi placed a folder in front of her, thinner than the first one, but it hit just as hard because this one was not about her aunt. This one was about the man who had spent 3 months asking about her childhood and who had been sent to find her by someone who already knew every answer. She had a seat on her father's board, though she was still learning what half the terms in those meetings meant. She had designer bags she did not ask for, sent by companies hoping she would post them online. She had everything, and she still lay awake some nights, wondering if any of the people laughing in those rooms would still be laughing if the 400 million disappeared. More than once she sat in a room full of people laughing at her jokes and felt more isolated than she ever did sleeping alone in that cold room at her aunt's house, because there is a very specific kind of loneliness that money creates, the kind where you cannot tell anymore who is staying for you and who is staying for what you represent. The one person who surprised her was Chidinma. After the note at the courthouse, Chidinma had reached out, not groveling, not performing remorse, just showing up consistently, quietly. Amara was watching to see how long that would last. 3 months after the court case closed, Amara attended a charity gala at the invitation of one of her father's associates. She wore a dress that cost more than her aunt's household earned in a month, and she sat with a glass of water in her hand and watched the room the way she had always watched rooms, looking for what was real underneath the performance. His name was Tobena, handsome, well-spoken. He didn't approach her like the others did. He didn't compliment her dress. He didn't ask about her father's business. He sat beside her and looked at the room and said, "Everyone in here is performing something. What are you performing tonight?" Amara looked at him. It was the first honest question anyone had asked her in months. He asked about her childhood. Not the headline version, the real one. What it felt like, what she missed, what she learned. And Amara talked for almost an hour about the boys' quarters, about feeling invisible for 13 years, about the hand-me-down clothes with the tags cut out. Things she had not said out loud to anyone. Tobena listened like every word mattered. For the first time since the SUV arrived, Amara felt like someone was interested in her, not the $400 million attached to her name. What Amara did not know, and what Chidinma did not know either, was that Tobena had not arrived at that gala by accident. He had been told she would be there. He had been told what to say. And he had been told what she was missing. Over the following weeks, Tobena was consistent. That was what made him dangerous, not the grand gestures, the consistency. He called when he said he would. He remembered the small things she mentioned. He never asked about money, never mentioned the estate, and Amara, who had spent 19 years waiting to be chosen, began, very carefully, to let him in. Barrister Adeyemi saw a photograph of Tobena 3 weeks after the gala. He said nothing at first, but he made a phone call that evening. The same instincts that had built a 12-year case were now turning in a new direction, toward protecting the girl he had once handed an envelope to on a quiet Tuesday morning. 2 weeks after that phone call, Barrister Adeyemi placed a second folder in front of Amara, thinner than the first, but it hit just as hard. Tobena had no verified job. What he had was a pattern. 3 previous relationships with wealthy women across Lagos and Abuja, each one ending shortly after. Significant sums of money went missing from their accounts. None of them had pressed charges. All of them had been too embarrassed to admit how thoroughly they had been fooled. He asked about my childhood, she said quietly. Nobody asks about that. He made it feel real. Barrister Adeyemi looked at her. That's exactly why it worked, he said gently. The best liars don't lead with what they want. They lead with what you're missing. Then Barrister Adeyemi turned to the last page and he read her a name. The name of the person who introduced Tobena to the social circle, who gave him Amara's background, who told him what she was missing, who pointed him directly at her vulnerability and said, this one. The name was Mrs. Okafor, the chief's personal secretary, 15 years in that household. The same household where Ijoma's final letter was intercepted. Amara sat very still. Mrs. Okafor, the woman who brought her tea the first morning she arrived at the estate, who called her welcome home, Miss Amara, with a warm smile. The same woman who had intercepted her mother's final letter 15 years ago. She had been in that house this whole time, working against the chief, against Amara, and she had never once stopped smiling. Amara invited Tobena to dinner at the estate, the same estate he had been slowly angling to move into. He arrived confident. He had been here before. He knew this house. What he did not know was that Chidinma would be sitting at that table. Amara had invited her, not for support, because Chidinma was the one who introduced them, and she needed to see what she had unknowingly helped build. She placed the folder on the table without a word. He looked at it, then at her, then at Chidinma, and he tried the trick that had worked 3 times before, softening his voice, reaching for her hand. It's not what it looks like. I really do care about you. Amara pulled her hand back. You know what is funny, she said. My aunt raised me to believe I wasn't worth loving. You spent 3 months convincing me I finally was, just so you could take something from me the moment I let my guard down. 2 very different people, same exact lesson underneath it. Chidinma watched the whole thing. She watched Tobena try every version of the story and run out of versions. She watched Amara not raise her voice once, and something in Chidinma's face shifted permanently that evening, not toward guilt, toward something harder and cleaner. An alliance, the real kind, that is built from having watched someone you wronged handle something with more dignity than you deserved to witness. She had security walk him out that night. No shouting, no scene for anyone to gossip about. Just the quiet, absolute certainty of a woman who was done being anyone's opportunity. Chidinma poured them both a glass of water. Neither of them spoke for a while. They didn't need to. It had been a year since Amara walked out of that compound for the last time. A year since she had heard her aunt's voice, except through lawyers and courtroom transcripts. And now she was driving back. Not because anyone had won anything, because some conversations cannot stay buried forever. Even the ones both people are actively trying to avoid. The house looked smaller than she remembered. Smaller and quieter, without her aunt's voice filling every room. She sat in the car for a moment before she got out. not from fear, from the specific deliberateness of someone who has decided to do something hard and is choosing to do it slowly and correctly. And then she saw her through the open door of that house, sitting in the living room, tea in hand. Mrs. Okafor, the woman who had been working against her for 15 years in her dying aunt's house. Amara did not stop working. 3 days before, it was Chidinma who called, not her mother. Amara almost did not answer. A year of silence had built a wall between her and everything that compound represented, but something made her pick up. Chidinma's voice was different than Amara remembered. Smaller, less certain of itself. My mother is sick, she said. Stage 4. Maybe 2 months. She keeps asking for you. She said there is something you deserve to know before she goes. Amara sat with the phone in her hand for a long time after the call ended, staring at nothing. She had spent a year in therapy, learning to protect her peace from that part of her past. Her therapist said something she had been turning over for weeks. Closure often matters more for your own peace than for anyone else's comfort. You are not going back for her. You are going back for yourself. She decided to go. Not because Aunt Ngozi deserved it. Not because anyone had asked nicely. Because she was done letting that chapter sit unfinished inside her. And because the girl who used to carry everyone's leftovers had learned over a very hard year that she got to decide what she carried now. Mrs. Okafor stood when Amara entered. The professional reflex, the warmth assembling itself on her face, the way it always did. Miss Amara, sit down, Amara said, not loud, not angry, the specific quiet of someone who does not need volume to fill a room. Chidinma appeared from the back of the house. She stopped when she saw the room, the two women, the specific quality of the silence between them. She looked at Amara. Amara looked back at her. We are going to need everyone here for this, Amara said, including your mother. Aunt Ngozi was smaller than Amara remembered, not just physically. The authority had left the room before Amara arrived. What was left was just a person, frightened, human, running out of time. You came, she said, her voice different than it had ever been. Chidinma said there was something I needed to know, Amara said. But first, we are all going to be in the same room. 3 women in the same room, one dying, one caught, and one who had decided that she was not leaving this house until every hidden thing in it had a name. Amara looked at Mrs. Okafor. Then, she took out her phone and she dialed her father. Speaker on. Mrs. Okafor's face changed. Not dramatically, the way a building changes when the foundation shifts. Everything still standing, but nothing the same underneath. Her father answered on the second ring. Amara, is everything alright? I need you to listen, she said. I am in Aunt Ngozi's house. Mrs. Okafor is here, and I need you to hear what I am going to tell you. Without stopping me, a pause. Go ahead, her father said. She told him everything. Ijoma's final letter intercepted. 15 years of Mrs. Okafor inside his household. To Bena sent to find Amara's wounds. The promise made to his own mother, now dead, to protect a purity that had cost 2 women everything. She spoke for 4 minutes. Nobody in the room made a sound. The chief was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, not to Amara, to Mrs. Okafor. He said, I trusted you with my household for 15 years. I trusted you with my daughter's safety. You will leave that estate by tonight. You will not take anything that does not belong to you, and you will never contact my family again." He paused. "My mother's prejudices were hers to carry. You made them yours. That is the part I cannot forgive." Mrs. Okafor stood. She picked up her bag. At the door, she paused. She looked at Amara, and she said nothing because there was nothing left to say that the chief had not already said for her. The door closed, and the room became a different room the moment she left it. When the door closed behind Chidinma, the room was very quiet. Aunt Ngozi looked at Amara and she said, "Your mother didn't just hide you to protect you from your father's family. I helped her do it. In the beginning, before the money made me forget why we were doing it." Ijoma had come to her in terror. After the threats from the Okonko Bell family, Ngozi had helped her genuinely at first, had helped her disappear, had raised Amara in those early years out of real love for her sister. Real love, not obligation. That was the part Amara had not known. But then, Ijoma died, and the bills came, and her marriage crumbled, and Chidinma's school fees grew, and somewhere in the years that followed, the reason for hiding Amara quietly shifted from protection into convenience, and eventually into something uglier. The fear of losing whatever financial benefit might come from being the one who raised a billionaire's daughter. "I told myself I was still protecting you," she whispered. "But somewhere along the way, I started protecting myself instead, and I let a child pay the price for my fear. I am sorry, Amara, not because I am dying, because it is true, and it was always true, and I should have said it a long time ago." Aunt Ngozi wept. And for the first time in either of their lives, it was not performance. It was simply grief, honest and unguarded, between two people who had run out of reasons to pretend. Amara sat with that for a long time. She thought about the boys' quarters, the hand-me-downs, the smallest plates, the years of being served last, and then she reached out and took her aunt's hand. "I am not going to pretend the last 13 years did not happen," she said, "but I am also not going to let anger be the last thing I give you. I forgive you, not because you have earned it, because I do not want to carry this into whatever comes next for me. You can keep the guilt if you need it. I am putting mine down." Aunt Ngozi passed away 6 weeks later. Amara attended the funeral. She sat beside Chidinma, who no longer had a place in the world where she truly belonged. Then Amara quietly told her that the door to a real relationship would always be open whenever she was ready to walk through it with honesty. The final episode is coming, and what Amara decides to do with everything she has inherited isn't what anyone expected, not even her father. Comment please if you would have done the same, or tell me honestly, could you have taken her hand? New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Follow now so you don't miss the finale.